What's going on, family? It's Dre over here at Set Apart Gardens, man. Shalom, peace to everybody. Hope y'all doing good, man. I got a good video for y'all today, man, because as you can see, or as you already know, we're gonna have an early spring. And so I wanna talk about some tips to prepare for spring, you know, right now, because you wanna prepare ahead of time. But let me show y'all something real quick. Yeah, see that? That green coming out of that banana tree. You see all the dead, withered away leaves from the winter? Same with this one. It's got some green growing up out of it too. But that's how you could tell that spring is coming earlier than usual, right? So I'm gonna do something a little different today. I'm gonna sit in the house and everything like that. And I'm gonna sit in my office and I'm gonna just give y'all some tips. But I'll see y'all there in a minute. All right, what's going on, South Gardens family, man? This is my office where I work from. I work from home now, I work remote, but this also where I do my videos and my editing and stuff too. But first and foremost, before we get into the video, man, I want to give a special shout out, man, to the Hezekiah, man. I definitely appreciate him sharing my platform, man, and just getting the message out to more and more people, man, more and more of our people, to get back to the land, you know what I mean? And just to start preparing for what's to come, but also just gaining the skills and the knowledge, you know. And I'm just thankful to be a vessel, you know, just one of many vessels that the Most High is using to just prepare his people, you know what I mean? And for our people to start waking up and getting back to the land. So special shout out to the Hezekiah, man. Definitely appreciate you, brother. And yeah, so let's get into it. So this is really important for me, because really, although I'm, you know, putting this video out to y'all, I'm really kind of talking to myself as well, because in past years, because we've been on our land for 3 years now, so we're coming up on like the 3rd year pretty much. And so with that being said, I haven't always properly prepared for the season at hand. And what I mean by that is, you know, I'm the type of person, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a procrastinator, you know what I mean? I'm just a person that just shoot from the hip. And one thing I'm realizing over the past few years, you know, with just being on the homestead, is that you can't shoot from the hip. You know, you gotta properly prepare, especially if you want a certain outcome. And so I had to learn that the hard way, because I'm expecting certain outcomes, but at the same time, I'm not putting in the proper preparation, and I'm not putting in the proper work, you know what I'm saying, to make sure that I get that outcome. So whether it be, well, I want my flock to grow, or well, I want to have this many chickens or that many turkeys, or, you know, I want to have this fenced in, or I want to have that built. You see what I'm saying? Just all this type of stuff. I wasn't able to really get as much accomplished as I would like. So that's a testament of why it's imperative to be prepared. So the first point I want to make is the 5 P's. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. So I know we probably hear that all the time, and it sounds like a cliche, but it does. Proper preparation prevents poor performance, and I can attest to that personally. And again, you know, this is just from my personal experience and my expertise, being a homesteader, being a farmer, right? So none of this, I mean, and by any means, if anybody has any tips that they want to share, you know, by all means, because I'm not the authority. But proper preparation prevents poor performance. So knowing that, okay, spring is coming sooner, you know, than expected, now is the time to start preparing. So the way you can prepare is, you can do a whole array of things, but first and foremost, you have to establish what your vision is. So for me, for example, I know that, okay, this upcoming year, I want to provide at least half of the food that my family consumes. That's vegetables and meat and eggs, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So with that, I have the vision. Write down what it is, the outcome that you want, right? So for instance, with us, right, we want, you know, we want turkeys, right? We want chickens, we want guinea fowl. I mean, not guinea fowl, but what we do want guinea fowl too, but quail. You see what I'm saying? So we want all of these, but we also want our flock to grow as well of lambs. So we understand all of that. So it's like, okay, so we know we need to order this amount of turkeys, or this amount of chickens, or this amount of quail, or this amount of guinea fowl. But it's not just ordering those things. You have to prepare before you get those things. So you have to make sure they have the infrastructure built. You have to make sure that the feed is already available. You have to make sure you have incubators. You got to make sure you have brooders, because once you figure out what the end result is, there's many ways, or there are multiple means to get to an end, if that makes sense. So for instance, say I want to have 30 turkeys this year, right? I want to raise 30 turkeys throughout the whole year, and that'll provide, I feel like that'll provide enough, more than enough turkey for my family throughout the year. 30 turkeys a year divided by 12 months. What is that? I'm not real good at math, but I'll do the math for you guys. So 30 divided by 12, so that's 2.5 turkeys a month, you know, and full-size turkey. So that's more than enough for my family, right? But understanding, let's say we want 30 turkeys, I'm just throwing that out there. So knowing that I want 30 turkeys, right? I could either buy the turkey poults, which is the basically little baby turkeys. I can buy, you know, 30 all up front. I can buy 15 here, then buy 15 later. Or I can buy the eggs and I can hatch the turkeys myself because I have an incubator. And that could be a more cost-effective way. But then I also have to have a brooder for them when they get here, so that way, you know, or whether they hatch or whether I buy them as poults, so that way I can ensure that they don't, you know, just die on me, because turkeys, they require a lot of attention the younger they are. You see what I'm saying? So understanding that, 30, okay, do I want to just get the eggs, put them in the incubator, or do I want to just get them shipped as babies, and then I can just, you know, start, you know, feed them and stuff like that. But then figuring out which means you want to do with that, then okay, do I have the proper infrastructure? Okay, I have to build the proper infrastructure, but not just for the turkeys, because okay, I want to increase my flock of chickens. So right now I currently probably have about maybe 15 chickens altogether. Most of them are laying hens. I got one rooster, so I got one rooster, maybe 14 hens, right? So knowing that, okay, this is how many I have, okay, do I want meat birds? Do I want birds that I just raise for meat? Of course I do, because the hens are just there to provide eggs. But in addition to getting meat birds, okay, do I want to create another flock of egg layers to increase the egg production? Because last year, although the chickens, the hens that we had provided a lot of eggs, there were still times we had to go to the store to supplement and buy eggs because they weren't laying as much, especially in the wintertime. So now that I know that I do need to increase and potentially build another flock of chickens. So with that, I have to make sure that the brooder that I have is suitable for turkeys and chickens. But then in addition to building, you know, a turkey coop, I need to build an extra chicken coop. So that's just preparing. But really, you know, it's all about your goals, right? Because everybody's looks different. Some people might just only want to do a garden. Some people might only want to have a couple of raised beds. But you still have to even prepare for that. No matter how small you plan to go, still make sure you prepare, because it'll save you not only a lot of time, but it'll save you a lot of money. Because if you sit here and just wait till the last minute, then you're gonna be in a reactive state. Because one thing about it, you don't want to wait too late, right? Until, you know, you right there at the time, and then now you gotta rush and get everything together. You don't want to do that. I've done that for so long, and it has cost me a lot of time and a lot of money. You see what I'm saying? Like, for instance, when I just had this litter of pups, I wasn't prepared. It wasn't a planned out pregnancy. It was an accident, right? But being that I didn't take the proper precautions, I had to, you know, whelp those puppies. I had to feed those puppies. And then I had to, you know, eventually find homes for all of those puppies. That took a lot of time and energy. And it took a lot of money. You see what I'm saying? Because I feed my dogs quality food. So if I had, you know, properly prepared and been on top of, you know, Luna's heat cycle, then I would have been able to, you know, separate them in time, and then that would have alleviated a lot of money and time spent. But nevertheless, it was a learning experience. And one thing that people have to realize is that you have to go through those. It's not gonna be perfect. But at the same time, if you can be as proactive as possible it'll save you a lot of trouble. It'll save you a lot of heartache. It'll save you a lot of money, a lot of energy. But I'm thankful because there's nothing like, because even as I'm telling you this advice, you still have to make your own mistakes. You still have to have a sort of trial and error in how you plan to operate. You see what I'm saying? You still have to go through trial and error. We all do. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying all that to say, make sure you're properly prepared. Another point I want to make is you want to capitalize on each season, right? And this ties into preparation as well. You want to maximize each season, right? So you have spring, summer, fall, winter, right? So we're in winter right now, but we're coming into spring. Winter time, you know, nothing is growing rapid, you know, it's cold, it's dry or wet, whatever the case may be where you live at. But the overall point is winter is a time where people usually hunker down and you have a lot of time to think, because you're not in harvest time, you're not in sowing time. You see what I'm saying? You're not in preparation time, like spring. But you're in a time to where you can actually sit down and think and reflect. So you want to make the most out of your winters, right? So with winter, you want to make sure, okay, now that things have slowed down, you know, the crops aren't coming in, you know, the grass ain't growing as high, you know what I mean? The sun ain't just beaming down, you know what I mean? It's slowed down. Everything is slowed down. It's getting darker sooner. The days are shorter. So with understanding that, it's like, okay, what happened, you know, this past year, right? What projects did I have that I wanted to do, right? What things did I get accomplished? It's just like in the Army, right? We have a AAR, we call it an AAR, after action review. Whenever we do like an exercise or whatever the case may be, if we just, you know, did a run or whatever the case, like a, you know, exercise, or you know, just did a team building event, whatever the case may be, we do an AAR afterwards. And so with the AAR, the questions that we ask is, what was supposed to happen? What did happen? What are some good things that we can sustain? And what are some improvements? So we can apply that same framework with our homestead, with our farm, with our garden, with our animals, livestock, whatever the case may be. What goals did you have? What was supposed to be accomplished? What did you set out to do? What did happen? What did you get accomplished? All right. What are some good things that you were able to do? What are some good habits that you had? What are some things that you can kind of sustain going forward? And then what are some improvements that you can do better? Seeing that, okay, I maybe didn't accomplish all of my goals because of A, B, C, D. But you need to reflect to be able to see what A, B, C, D is. And if you don't reflect, then you're just gonna be constantly shooting from the hip. You're gonna be constantly shooting from the hip. You're gonna be constantly in a reactive state. So you wanna make sure you maximize each season. And then with spring is a time of sowing. It's a time of preparing, right? It's a time, because that's when the soil starts to get warmer. That's when the sun starts to come out more. That's when things start to heat up, things start to get busy. So you want to make sure you prepare as much as possible. You want to make sure that, you know, your garden is tilled if you're going to do an in-ground garden. You want to make sure your raised beds are built. You want to make sure your chicken coop is built. You want to make sure you got feed stacked up that can sustain you when your animals do come in. If you decide to order chickens or turkeys or whatever, poultry, or you want to buy some new sheep, or you want to buy some new goats, or you want to buy some cattle, you want to make sure your fences are built, your infrastructure is built. You want to make sure that the animals don't have to do a lot of hard work. They just can focus on their purpose that they're going to serve. You want to make sure your egg laying boxes are built. You want to make sure you got waterers. You want to make sure just everything is just ready made for when, you know, your animals come in and they start growing to the point that they can grow into it, and you're not just building it as you go. That's what I've done in the past, right? So springtime, you know, is really prepping and tilling the soil, and you know, you can plant some of your seeds and different things like that. And then you have summertime. Summertime is also a time of toil as well, but summertime is really going to be the thick of the work, because that's when the weather is going to be in its prime state. that's when it's going to be hot. That's when the sun is going to shine the most. That's when most of your plants are going to start really growing. That's when most of your animals are really going to start producing. Like your chickens are going to lay eggs every day. You see what I'm saying? And they're going to grow fast. You know what I mean? Just the soil is going to, you know, really be in operation. Your compost pile is going to be turning, going to be heating up, going to be breaking down. You see what I'm saying? And just everything is going to be at work, but everything is going to be growing rapidly, because that is the prime time for those things to grow in the summertime, because the sun is going to be at its peak. And then you have your fall, which is your harvest time. That's when your things have grown and everything like that. Now it's time to reap what you have sown. Now it's time to reap your harvest. And that's also a busy time as well. But it isn't as laborious as, say, the toil, because now you're enjoying the fruits of your labor. So now you're able to, you know, just sit out here and you can go, you know, whether your fig tree is producing, your orange tree is producing, your banana tree is producing, your mangoes producing, whatever you got in the ground is producing, your vegetables, your cucumbers growing, your tomatoes growing, all of these things, you know, are growing. Your chickens are laying eggs every day. You might have some, you know, sheep's giving birth, or some goats giving birth, or some sort of animal giving birth, whatever the case may be. But this is the time that you're starting to reap what you sow, and then you're back into winter time, and now you can reset, now you can reflect, you can do an AAR, and you can keep doing that cycle and get better and better every year, and to the point to where you're fully self-sustainable. You're fully self-sufficient. You see what I'm saying? To the point to where you've mastered your own system. That's the purpose of this all. You want to prepare as much as possible so you can get to the point to where you've mastered your own system, and then you can grow, and we can grow as a people, we can grow as a community, because we have so many people that are self-sufficient, that have mastered, you know, their own systems, and now we can, you know, continue to benefit. This is what has been happening from the beginning of time. You see what I'm saying? It's called good stewardship, and a part of good stewardship is preparing and preparation. So you want to make sure you prepare, you know, for the upcoming times, and for each season you want to make sure you prepare. And this is another thing too. Once you get to the point to where, okay, you have your vision laid out, right? Now you can start planning for self-sufficiency. Okay, I know I need to order this amount of turkeys or chickens or whatever animal you want to raise, whatever poultry you want to raise. Okay, now I want to buy a rooster. Now I want to buy a male turkey. Now I want to buy, you know, quail, to the point to where I can produce them on my own, to the point to where I no longer have to go to outside sources to buy these animals. And then now you get into the point to where you not only are sustaining yourself and being self-sufficient, but you are also able to have excess to the point where you can profit off of it as well. You can start selling what you have, with the excess that you do have, or storing it away, but you can profit off of it because you've taken the time to prepare. So for instance, with me, I have a rooster. Last year I hatched maybe like all together maybe like 9 to 10 chicks, just from my flock, from my rooster, from the hens that I have. I didn't have to go outside of my farm to purchase baby chicks, because I was producing them on my own land. You see what I'm saying? So I was able to be self-sufficient, self-sustainable. You know, this upcoming year, because I have turkeys out there right now, but those turkeys are going to be for butcher. But I want to buy my own flock of turkeys to the point to where they're going to be, you know, reproducing themselves. You see what I'm saying? So the point to where I don't have to go in and continue to buy more turkeys. I want to do the same thing with quail. I'm doing the same thing with my sheep. I'm doing the same thing with my dogs. I'm doing the same thing with my garden, the seeds that I grow. The things that I grow, I'm getting the seeds from those, and I'm replanting those seeds. You see what I'm saying? So that's the goal. You want everything on your land to reproduce. That's the whole purpose of being self-sufficient, right? But in order to get to that point, we have to make sure that we're taking advantage of every season. We have to make sure that we're preparing for every upcoming growing season, every upcoming year. And then we have to reflect once that year is over with to see what was done good and what can be done better. And we actually have to implement it, because knowledge isn't power by itself. Applied knowledge is power. right? So you can know and not do. That's why it says, be ye doers of the word, not hearers only. You want to apply what you learn. And it's the same thing with whatever you're doing in life. You want to make sure that you are applying what you learn, so you can maximize on the knowledge that you have. So the seasons go by fast, but make sure that you're making the most out of each season, to the point to where you get to where you want to be. Another point I want to make, right, and forgive me, I'm looking at my computer screen to get my bullet points, but another point I want to make is that it doesn't have to look like what everybody else is doing. You can plan as big as you want or as small as you want, but make sure that you have a plan. You see what I'm saying? It don't matter if you got just a small backyard, right? And you want to just do a couple of raised beds, and you want to get, 5 laying hens because your HOA or, your community allows that. That's fine. But it ain't just, okay, well, I'm gonna just go buy these raised beds off of Amazon, because guess what? When you have a plan, you can sit here and say, okay, I see Amazon is selling these raised beds for $150 a piece, but I could just go to Home Depot or Lowe's and get some wood and build these myself, and I can do it for half the price. And then not only that, okay, they have these bags of soil for, $5 a bag, $3 a bag, whatever the case may be. However, there is resources to the point to where you have companies that'll drop off compost, that'll drop off field dirt to your house, that will drop off, just a lot of different things, mulch, all these different things in abundance. They'll drop it off, or you can get a truck full of mulch or a truck full of soil, if you get a pickup and you put it on the back instead of buying all these bags, and you get more bang for your buck, right? Or you can sit here and, gather up a bunch of leaves. And I know this is a trick that Lead Farmer did. He gets a lot of leaves and he grinds them up. And basically he puts them in his garden and they turn to soil, they break down. You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of ways that you could fill the raised beds that you do build. So whereas you would have spent, let's say $100, $150 on the raised bed itself, and then it took an additional $50 worth of soil to fill those raised beds, because you want to buy your good soil, you want to buy your manure, all these different things to mix in it, right? Now you're looking at potentially $150 to $200, whereas you have a plan and you outsource different things, and you do your research and you come up with a plan and say, I'm gonna build my raised beds, and it's only gonna cost me $45 with the wood, the nails, everything. I already got the tools. It may cost me $35, $45 to get all that. And then, okay, I can go, they have this place where, I can call them and they can come dump some soil, and then I got some leaves around, and I got some sticks I can put in there, then I got some compost that I can put in there, and all together, I'm looking at, pretty much nothing to fill those raised beds. You see what I'm saying? So, whereas you would have spent $150 to $200, you could be spending, at the most $50 to $60 to do what you plan to do overall, and you're still achieving the overall result. You see what I'm saying? That's the thing. Figure out what the end is gonna be, and then backtrack, and then come up with your plan, and actually sit down and map it out and write it out, because it'll save you a lot of time and a lot of energy. Because you can order these off a line, and it takes a couple of days to come in, but it takes even more to build it, whereas you could have just went to the store, purchased it, built it that same day, boom, now you're in business. So that was just one example, but there's many examples like that. But no matter how big you want to do it or how small you want to do it, make sure you got a plan. My last point, right, is and this is, this applies to me as well. But I know, I'm not the only one who had to go through trial and error and different things like that. But you can't change the past, right? And you can plan for the future, but you really have to capitalize the right now, which is the present, right? We can only control what we can do right now. We can't control or change what happened back there, and we can't sit here and focus too much on what's going to be ahead of us. We can prepare as much as possible, but the only thing that we can control is right now, what you're doing in real time at this very second. And so that's why, if you have been procrastinating in the past, or whether you have been, you know, just shooting from the hip a lot of the times, and you just been doing what you can and flying by the seam of your pants, that's all good. But at the same time, you can't control that. But what you could do is, right now, you can say, okay, that stops today. And now I'm gonna focus on capitalizing and maximizing what I can do right now. And even if that means cleaning up the messes that I have made in the past, right? And organizing, getting organized, and just, you know, creating a system that works for you, that you can be productive, but things won't fall by the wayside. You see what I'm saying? So we can't change the past. We can't look too deep into the future, and we can't really guarantee what's gonna happen in the future, but what we can control is right now. So right now, before the springtime is coming, right, because we see it rapidly approaching. You see the green that's coming out of my banana tree. You know, you see the weather is heating up. You see what I'm saying? So as it's rapidly approaching, let's start trying to get it right now. Let's start trying to get it together right now. So when the time does come, then we can reap an abundant harvest to the point to where we can have excess. You know what I'm saying? And we can really live off the fat of the land, right? So that's all I got for y'all, man. I just wanted to share that with y'all because, you know, I want us as a community, as a people, to maximize and to really capitalize and not only just get the skills, but thrive in them, right? Not just surviving, but we thriving. It ain't just learning how to survive and learning how to do these different things, but thrive in doing these things. If you want to learn how to fish, okay, learn how to catch the biggest fish. Learn how to get your skill set to the point to where you can catch fish every time you go fishing. If you want to have a garden, it ain't just about growing some food, but it's about making sure that you're reaping an abundant harvest, and that you know your soil is at the best quality. You see what I'm saying? To the point to where you're producing the best food. So we don't want to just survive, we want to thrive. And so with that being said, man, if you got any tips that you want to, you know, leave in the comment section as far as preparing and just overall wisdom that you've had and that you've gained over your time farming or gardening or, you know, just homesteading, drop it down in the comments below, man. But with that being said, like I always like to say, if you give somebody the power to feed you, you give them the power to start you. Peace.
Bombs over Baghdad really ain't that bad. Little wiretap, yes, yes. Little dodge in the IRS. Little haven from the taxman.